a luxury train racing through Europe, a steamer making its way down the Nile, a country house full of secrets, or a seaside hotel where everyone has something to hide. These are the worlds of Agatha Christie. Her mysteries have sold more than 2 billion copies worldwide and have been adapted for the screen for almost a century. Today, we're looking at 8 of the very best movies based on the works of the Queen of Crime. Witness for the Prosecution is often called one of the finest adaptations of Agatha Christie's work, and one of the best courtroom dramas ever made. The story follows Leonard Vole, played by Tyrone Power in what would be his final film. He is accused of murdering a wealthy woman, and his defense falls to legendary lawyer Sir Wilfrid Robarts. But Vole's alibi depends on his cold, calculating wife, who uses a legal loophole to testify against him. From there, the trial becomes a series of shocking turns, each one more devastating than the last. Like Christie's famous stage play, The Mousetrap, the filmmakers insisted on secrecy. At the end of the film, a voiceover reminded audiences not to spoil the ending for others. Critics praised the film, and it earned 6 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. The first of 4 Miss Marple films directed by George Pollock, Murder, She Said, was loosely adapted from Christie's novel 450 from Paddington. Margaret Rutherford played the amateur sleuth, giving the role a lively comic energy that differed greatly from the books. The story begins when Marple sees a woman strangled on a passing train. The police find no evidence, so she takes the case into her own hands, convinced the body must be hidden on the grounds of Akenthorpe Hall, which borders the railway. That's where her real investigation begins. The film departs from the novel in several ways, so Christie disliked the adaptation, but critics and audiences responded differently. The film received positive reviews and became a financial success. This Christie classic has been adapted many times, but the 1945 version is often considered the best. To meet censorship rules of the time, the film altered some characters' names and backstories, and it followed the ending of the stage play, rather than the darker conclusion of the novel. The story brings 10 strangers to a remote island under mysterious invitations. As they gather in the mansion, a recording accuses each guest of past crimes. Soon, the group begins to shrink as one by one they are murdered, and suspicion grows that the killer is among them. Compared to later versions, this film stays closer to Christie's original plot, but its ending was significantly softened. Another major change was in the title. The book was first published under a name that is no longer acceptable, later retitled 10 Little Indians. In the UK and Australia, the more enduring title, And Then There Were None, was used, and that became the title of the film. One of the rare adaptations Agatha Christie herself praised, Murder on the Orient Express, is based on her famous novel and features Albert Finney as Hercule Poirot. Aboard the luxurious train, Poirot and his companion, Monsieur Bianchi, must solve the murder of American businessman Mr. Rachet. Christie had often been disappointed with film versions of her work and was reluctant to sell more rights. She eventually agreed to this production, later admitting it was well made, though she thought casting Finney as Poirot was a mistake. The film received 6 Oscar nominations, including Best Actor for Finney. Another adaptation featuring Hercule Poirot, but this time played by Peter Ustinov, who would go on to reprise the role 5 more times. Directed by John Guillermin and adapted by Anthony Shaffer, the film followed the successful formula of Murder on the Orient Express and was shot on location in Egypt. The story takes place aboard a lavish cruise on the Nile, where a wealthy heiress is murdered. Poirot and his companion Colonel Race begin their investigation, only to find the suspects themselves starting to die one after another. Each new twist makes the mystery even more tangled, Filming conditions were grueling, with temperatures reaching 130 degrees Fahrenheit and logistical troubles like missing hotel reservations. Still, the atmosphere on set remained generous, and the result was a stylish Christie adaptation that audiences embraced. The second of MGM's Miss Marple films, Murder at the Gallop, was adapted from Christie's novel After the Funeral. In the original story, the detective was Poirot, but here Margaret Rutherford once again plays Miss Marple, with George Pollock returning as director. The film leans more toward light comedy than Christie's suspense. It begins when Miss Marple calls on a reclusive villager to collect for charity. He suddenly drops dead before her eyes, and she becomes convinced his death was not natural. Listening in on the reading of his will, she notes the strange behavior of several heirs. When more bodies turn up, Marple must uncover the culprit before the family's secrets consume them all. Another case for Miss Marple, though this time played by Angela Lansbury. Based on Christie's novel The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side, the film was directed by Guy Hamilton, best known for several James Bond entries, and marked the first of two Christie adaptations he would make. The mystery takes place on the set of a 1950s movie, where Marple and her nephew uncover traces of poison and are soon drawn into a murder investigation. What makes the story particularly striking is its connection to real life. Christie is believed to have taken inspiration from a tragic episode in the life of American actress Jean Tierney, who contracted German measles while pregnant, resulting in severe birth defects for her child. The circumstances of that incident are echoed in Christie's tale almost word for word. Once again, Peter Ustinov returned as Hercule Poirot in Evil Under the Sun, his second time playing the detective. Based on Christie's 1941 novel, the film was scripted by Anthony Shaffer, who had already worked on Death on the Nile. The mystery takes Poirot to a Balkan resort, where an actress is found strangled. With 9 possible suspects, each hiding secrets and motives, Poirot works to untangle the case before more lives are lost. The adaptation remained fairly close to the source material, though several characters were trimmed or combined to fit the runtime. Stylish touches stood out, including costume design by Anthony Powell, who had won an Academy Award for his work on Death on the Nile 4 years earlier.